Sponsored by the Big 98, Nashville's #1 for new country and the home of the Bobby Bones Show.
We're thrilled to have on the show an incredible guitarist, singer, songwriter, making big waves. I know you've heard his music, Jared James Nichols. It's so good to have you on the show.
Eric, thank you, my brother.
You know, it's been a while. I can't believe, it's been like a year and a half, 2 years since we got to hang out at the Gibson Garage.
Time is flying. It has flown. And now I see you. You look like a supermodel. You look so good.
Well, and you're like all bulked up.
I know.
I was kidding you at the last NAMM show.
Yeah.
It's like I was going to go up and talk to you, but you had all of your fans encircling you.
Yeah.
From children to older adults wanting their pictures with you.
It's kind of funny. I feel like when I go to those events, like the NAMM show, right? It's like people have probably seen me maybe on social media or something playing guitar, and then when it's like in the flesh, they're like, "We need a picture." And they're like, "We didn't think you'd be this big. You couldn't be this tall." It's great.
But how incredible, and also especially with your new album out.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, I've certainly loved your past albums, and you and I had even talked about Shadow Dancer, the EP you did. But the new album, it really, to me, it shows your musical influences, Jared.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you've got a taste of, some 60s rock in there with a little nod to Jimmy. You've got the 70s rock, you've got the blues.
Yep.
Easy come, easy go. Probably one of my favorites.
Thank you. Awesome.
But I mean, how did this whole new album come together for you?
So it all started from, I remember we were playing in the UK.
Yeah.
I was at a show, and it was right after we got off stage. I felt awesome. And this couple comes up to me, and the guy says, "Mate, you sounded amazing, right?" And I was like, "Oh, thank you." He goes, "You sound so much better live than on your recordings." And I went, "Thanks," right? So I started to think about it. I'm like, what? I wonder what he was thinking like that, right? Mm-hmm. So I started to record our live shows.
Yeah.
And instantly I noticed this excitement of the live situation.
Right.
So I said, I want to make a record that caters to my live show. Mm-hmm. We went to Blackbird here in Nashville. Trio on guitar, vocals, bass, and drums. And we played as if we were playing a live show and recorded it. We went in with that mindset, and what came out, we tracked it to tape. What came out was just this kind of like a stick of dynamite.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
And that's what I noticed too. And also, obviously you're such an incredible guitar player, but I noticed the strength in your vocals now too. And I think that must be coming from the touring.
Absolutely. I think, I was such a guitar head, and I still am. We are.
Yes.
But I started to think to myself, there's more to the story than just serving the guitar.
Right.
So as a vocalist, I really started to dig deep, and I thought to myself, just as with guitar, what's my voice?
Yeah.
How do I sing? How do I, how do I sing and play together? And, how do I just find me in the music? Mm-hmm. So I was so lucky that, after, in 2019, 308 days straight on the road, wow, singing every day,
right,
thinking about it, and just working on it, I started to develop my own voice.
I think it really shines through, and I think working with Eddie, the producer, too, who has produced a number of big acts.
Yes.
And having him on your team, it's like, wow.
It's amazing to work with someone that in music isn't jaded, is really fresh and excited about, making music, but also I think the biggest thing is they're kind of fearless.
Right.
We have so much love for music and our influences. Like you said, we wear them on our sleeve. But when we made this record, we went in and we just wanted to have fun.
Yeah.
And I think at the end of the day, music's about having fun. And being in the studio and having fun, it's the best experience ever.
Well, and you have certainly handled hardships in your life, and you and I were talking before we came in studio even about having, the broken, bones and everything and healing up. And then you took such an incredible direction, Jared, to where you decided to focus on getting healthy.
Yes.
And it's worked.
Yeah, and about a year ago, I had the unfortunate accident. I broke my arm on tour. I was literally trying to help lift a case, and I heard a little pop. And as a guitar player, I like my guitar life flashed before my eyes.
Right.
So here I am in a hospital. They're saying, "Hey, man, we have to have this emergency surgery to fix your arm." And I'm like, "Will I ever play again? How does this work?" And at that moment, I vowed to myself. And as funny as that is, it just made me stop in my tracks and say, you know what, I really need to focus, because a lot of musicians, it's hard being on the road.
Oh my gosh, I can't imagine.
Fast food, bad sleeping, traveling all the time. Right. It's really easy to get into a cycle. And I wanted to break that. And I just wanted to say, you know what, health matters.
Yes.
And in order to give my best shows and to be focused, it really helped me out to kind of have that to keep grounded.
You know, and once again, I've got to share this. To me, the parallels, because, you know, you're from Waukesha, Wisconsin,
Yep.
and that, you know, even after you're picking up guitar at 14 years old, and you won the Les Paul contest,
Yep.
you won multiple contests, but then isn't it ironic that Les Paul went through something similar
Yes. It's so weird.
as you,
Yeah, same spot too.
and he took that as an opportunity to elevate his career just as you have.
It's funny, after it happened, I remember I was so determined to say, it's not gonna affect me. I remember my hand, I was just kind of in a brace, right? And I'm sitting there like finger picking on my guitar, like I can still do it. And I sat there all day into the night until I fell asleep with the guitar on me, just going, I'm gonna get it all back. I'm gonna get it all back. And within a matter of a few months, and I think you hear a lot of that on this record too. It's like that determination, and you know, it's like anything in life. When you want it bad enough,
Right.
you will do whatever it takes to kind of get there.
Well, you know, and what I hear in this new album, you know, the self-titled album, is the joy of the music.
Yeah.
And also, I like the diversity of it, to where you get to play some acoustic, you know, and then you got some heavy stuff in there. And then also, you get to shred and play the
Yes.
stuff that I know you love to do.
Of course.
You know, and I got to ask you this too, because I think viewers are going to want to know, you know, the last time we hung out and met, you know, you had just become a Gibson ambassador, and there aren't a lot of those.
No.
And you have multiple signature models out
Yes.
with Gibson. You're working with Black Star amplifiers.
Yes.
You've got DR strings. It's
Yep.
like, what does that feel like as a kid growing up, you know, and starting to play guitar and, you know, practicing 12 hours a day?
Yeah.
And now where you're at now, Jared.
It feels like I never dreamed this far. Truthfully, like I remember in 2019 when Gibson approached me to do a signature guitar. And I kind of looked behind me and I was like, I don't know, you're not talking to me, are you? But the reality is, it feels so good because like many, you know, guitarists and music lovers, I've dedicated my whole entire life and all of my passion and goal to this craft. And to be able to receive such accolades, I'm so grateful. And with Gibson, I feel like it's my family. I mean, I couldn't imagine playing music without my Les Paul. And to have not one, and two, but three on the way. To have these guitars with my name on them, and also to have an affordable guitar that I see kids on social media playing. They're playing their own music on it.
And they play and sound so great.
Yeah,
my
it
goodness.
makes me feel just like really, really grateful and honestly inspired.
Well, you know, and you've had so many incredible moments in your career, and you're looking back, you know, even as a young teenager, to where you got to jam with the likes of, you know, Honey Boy Edwards and Buddy Guy, and now you get to show those influences, though. But what wowed me, though, is working on the single with Maggie Rose and Joe Bonamassa.
Yes. That was another one. I had a Joe Bonamassa poster on my wall, you know? I remember thinking to myself, man, if I could ever see him play live, and not only that, have him become like now one of my best friends. So I called Joe and I'm like, hey man, I'm doing this song. I would love to have you come play on it. And he goes, done. When do you want to do it? And I was like, really? And then he goes, but there is a charge. And I was like, uh-oh. He's like, 2 Diet Cokes. So he shows up to the studio. He has a 1959 Les Paul. He's driving an old vintage truck. Shows up, he's smoking a cigar, puts the cigar out. We go in the studio. He plays the most crazy awesome solo. And then he's just like, hey man, thanks a lot for having me. And I'm like, how did this happen? You know, it's hard for me sometimes to even process some of this stuff.
I mean, but you realize that it just came out of your mouth that I called Joe.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's not like Joe at the sushi place. It's like, no, this is Joe Bonamassa.
I'm so lucky to have not only like met, but you know, like when your heroes become your friends.
Right.
Guys like Zakk Wylde, and it's really weird because then it's like a lot of times we don't even talk about music anymore. We're just like talking like old friends.
Right.
And it's really cool. It's really cool.
Well, and I mean, you've shared the stage, you know, with Zakk Wylde, with ZZ Top, you know, I mean, with Slash.
Yeah.
You know, and that was the thing too. It's like when I saw you at the NAMM show, I'm like going, I think Jared is as big as Zakk now. It's like he's like huge.
Yeah.
But it's like, but you've done it all natural, working
Yeah.
out all the time and taking care and eating
Absolutely.
healthy.
Yeah, it's funny. When I was a kid, I grew up in Wisconsin, so I always tell people I'm corn-fed. So
I use that line too.
You do?
I was Missouri, but you know.
Close enough.
Yeah.
I feel like I never had aspirations to be like a guitar guy or a rock star, right? I grew up playing football and as a kid, and then I wanted to work on cars, and we would lift weights, and we would go do our 2-a-day practices and stuff, So I was always built for that kind of thing. And then when I got into guitar, I remember at first I was like, no, I'm gonna be a drummer, because drummer's more like physical. And I ended up getting a guitar, and a lot of people would be like, man, are you playing a smaller guitar? It's like, no, I'm just like 6'5". So it's pretty funny.
Oh my gosh, it's just incredible. And I got to tell you too, obviously popping on the Gibson app and the Gibson video, it's like going, I'm really not sure when you have time to record or tour, because it seems like you're on a lot of the videos.
Yeah, Gibson has, they have been so good to me, like on their video side.
Right.
I mean, I've done things like Riff Lords, where I like break down how I play, which is really cool.
I watched
songs, so cool. I've been able to do tell the stories of my first Gibsons ever. I mean, so much cool stuff, all the way to the fact of coming up, with my new record. Gibson was there in the studio with me documenting it.
Speaking of which, there might be a documentary coming out this year?
Yeah, there's something really, really cool that I can't wait for everyone to see, that just basically chronicles making this record. And also, if you're not familiar with me, it gives you a lot more insight into what I've done and how I've gotten to where I am and where I plan on going.
Well, and I've got to ask you too, you and I always talk guitars, and obviously with Old Glory and everything else, do you still have Dorothy?
Oh yeah, that guitar will never leave.
You got to tell the Dorothy story.
Okay, yeah, so this is a great story. So this story never gets old to me. I was on social media, this would have been about 2 years ago, and I got a message from a person I didn't know. And usually I don't even really look, because maybe it's like a spam or someone asking for money or something random. But it was a picture, and this guy wrote, hey, I found this in my yard during a tornado in 2014. So I clicked the picture, and it's a broken old Les Paul. The neck is broken off, but it's a gold top, and I see it, and us being guitar nerds, I go, that's a really early 1952 Les Paul. And I see it, and I'm looking at it, and it's got mud all over it, and I'm like, what is the story behind this? So I hit him back, and he said there was in Peoria, Illinois, there was this crazy tornado. This guitar ended up in his front yard, and he found it. The owner, it was her dad's guitar. She just gave it to him. She claimed down her insurance. She said, just hang it on your wall. So he said to me, man, I'm thinking about getting it fixed up.
Yeah.
So I said, yeah, if you need any help, I would love to help you with it. And I said, and also, if you don't end up getting it fixed up, I would love to fix it up and maybe play it. He calls me the next day. Hey, I'm just gonna give you the guitar. I was like, you can't, I need to give you something for this guitar. So what it turned out to be is, he became a great friend of mine. I gave him one of my signature guitars in trade, because I could not just take it.
No.
But he said, I didn't buy it, I'm not selling it, And this guitar turned out to be one of the first Les Pauls ever made, one of the first 25.
One of the first 25, that's just amazing.
And I had it professionally rebuilt, not restored, just built enough that it can play.
Right.
And Eric, it is one of the best sounding, playing, feeling guitars I've ever felt. It feels like when I put on that guitar, it sounds like the soundtrack of my life. It's like all of our favorite music, and when I try and do something on it, it outdoes it. And to have something that not only is important, like historically, to Gibson, which obviously I love, but also to have an incredible guitar that's like inspiring to write new music on. It's just so cool. And now this guitar, honestly, it doesn't leave my side. And I named it Dorothy because it went through a tornado.
I love that.
So cool.
I mean, it's like the full circle.
Yeah, man.
With
it's
everything
crazy.
you're doing, and it's just all coming together. And the new album too, which I want to make sure our viewers, whether they use playlist and digital, or I hope it's going to come out on vinyl.
Vinyl's coming out.
Because it's like, it's got so much depth, but it's like, it's just great songs.
Thank you.
And just being able to hear your voice and the different styles of guitar playing in it, the effects and everything that you use.
Yeah.
It's like, I love the wah and the other effects you're using. It's like going, oh my gosh, you dug everything out.
I dug deep for this record, not only as a guitar player, which obviously I feel like sometimes I'm only thinking about playing guitar all the time, but songwriting. I really dug deep on the songs. And also, it's kind of funny, as musicians, you seem to get maybe typecasted like, okay, Jared plays blues rock guitar, everything's gonna sound like that. But with this record, I tried to say to myself, I have a lot of different influences, everything from, the first music I ever heard, Hank Williams and Patsy Cline, to heavy music, Black Sabbath, and, Alice in Chains and stuff like that. And I just basically said, I just want to lay it all out and not kind of get out of my own way.
Yeah.
And that's what I did with this record.
Well, and it's kind of like, as we mentioned with your influences, but also some of our viewers may not realize that you were raised close to where Stevie Ray Vaughan played his final show.
I was, right down the street, on the same street, Highway D. So my parents were building a house on Highway D. And as my mom states, she said, I remember it was a really foggy morning, and she remembers the coroner driving right down our street, and they said Stevie Ray Vaughan had died. And it's kind of crazy, because even as a kid, when I first picked up a guitar, it was like, people would say, do you know who Stevie is? And I don't know. And I finally saw a video of him play.
Right.
And it was like, it changed my life. So I would go up, I was that kid that would go up there on the date, the anniversary, with my guitar on the stage at Alpine, sneak in, go on the stage where the X is in the middle and just play, play Stevie Ray Vaughan stuff. And I just love him. And it's really a cool thing that, obviously it's tragic what happened, but to have that history and legacy there.
Right.
And to know that that's where I came from, not only born in Les Paul, the same town as Les Paul, but raised where Stevie Ray played his last show. It's just kind of cool in the guitar.
And now kids are picking up your signature model guitars and starting their musical journey.
It's pretty awesome. And that, I think, is the thing that I'm most proud of. Yeah.
Well, I want to make sure for our viewers, Jared, for your website, your social media, everything, I know you got a big tour coming up too this year, and the incredible album, the vinyl coming out. Where do viewers need to go?
Everything can be found at jaredjamesnichols.com or any social media. If you're on Facebook, if you're on Instagram, whatever you're on, it's at Jared James Nichols.
Well, I'll tell you what, be sure and get this album, listen to it on digital, but buy the vinyl. And also, you got to go see this guy live with his trio. You are going to be mesmerized. And if you want to learn more about him, even from this show with the Rockin' Review, check him out on the Gibson channel, also in the Gibson app. Jared James Nichols, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you so much.
Sponsored by the Big 98, Nashville's #1 for new country and the home of the Bobby Bones Show.